Good evening, everybody. We'll call to order the February 6th, 2023 workshop meeting from the Township Council. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have two presentations tonight. And to start off, we'll go with FWAT and 107 Ridge Pike. Craig Flaxman.
Sorry, if we pull up another chair? Or?
Yeah, you can. Yeah. Is there,
So I'm Brian Matson with Apex Engineering. We're the civil engineers for the project. I'm here with
Craig Flaxman, Fingers, Wings, and Other Things.
So, as you may recall, last year we received the land development approval for the development of the property. It included a new rear patio addition and some parking expansion and some stormwater management facilities. After they received the land development approvals, based on the construction costs, we've tried to take a look at what we could do to help make the costs more feasible to develop. So what we've done is we've submitted a revised plan. The plan includes the elimination of the 386 square foot rear patio addition. There was a modification to the color of the privacy fence from black to white. And in addition, we're asking for 3 additional waiver requests. One is for the parking lot pavement section detail. And the other 2 waiver requests are for the size of the proposed plantings. One is to reduce the size of the evergreen trees from 6 feet to 5 feet. And the other is to reduce the size of the shade trees from 3 inches to 2 inches. So we're here tonight just looking for reconsideration of these revisions.
So like 3.5 years ago, when we decided to do this project, all my 4 siblings were on board with this. And we were... when my father passed away back in 2020, he left all the property to the 4 siblings. 2 of them don't live in the state, and me and my brother Brian live around here. So we talked them into going through with this project, and we were told it was going to be between $150,000 and $185,000. So after a pandemic, massive inflation, the cost of blacktop doubling, we were getting numbers over $300,000 to put 19 parking spaces in. And we feel we need the extra parking. We have neighbors that use our parking. The Primo Hoagies people seem to park in our lot. The Sheer Happening people park in our lot. There's a new gym behind us that seem to use our lot. And we're good neighbors. We let everybody seem to use our lot. But it's getting to the point where we don't have enough parking. Fingers and Wings keeps on growing. And there's certain nights of the week where there's no parking at all. And we're willing to spend the money to put in these rain basins that cost over $50,000 to catch the water that seems to be flooding out our neighbors because of the land behind us, like clay. So, we're willing to do this project. We think it benefits the township. It benefits people that live in the township, businesses in the township, obviously ourselves, but we're trying to find ways to make it, cost effective for 19 parking spots. $300,000 is a little ridiculous. And the 2 siblings, 3 of the 4 siblings have to agree on all the stuff or it can't go through. So that's why we tried to figure out how we could reduce the cost. It's just overflow parking. They asked for really a lot of blacktop and a certain kind of blacktop. So Brian will explain to you what some of the stuff that we come up with.
And this is in the rearmost part of the park.
The very back of the parking.
Really, it's not visible from the
Yeah, it's not visible. There's fencing up there. It's really just overflow parking on certain nights of the week. Obviously, the Super Bowl is coming. We're going to need it for the Super Bowl, but we're not going to have it. The whole area is just growing. There's more homes coming in, more apartments. My business has doubled in the last few years, and we see a bright future. We just keep on getting busier and busier and busier. We need the extra parking. We thought we would need a deck. During the pandemic, everybody was sitting outside. Everybody wanted a deck. So we decided to put a deck in. But the deck is expensive. It takes up a lot of our landscaping that we already have. It's hard to service because we have double doors getting in and out. And I just feel that it would, to spend $30,000, $40,000 on a deck, it's just not worth it at this point in time. So we've tried to reduce the project down to where we can make it affordable so I can present it to my siblings and say, hey, I think we need to go through with this. So that's why we're back here trying to get this done. Okay? Questions?
So I would, with regard to the parking pavement spec waiver that you're requesting, I would say that you should submit to us a structural analysis of what the code requirement is and what you're proposing to do. We can take a look at
Okay,
that, right?
yes.
So, like PennDOT has structural coefficients that match each individual layer. And if you could match that up with what you're proposing to do, then we can comment if we recommend approval on it.
All right, yes, yeah, we can put that together.
I think did you go by what you used the spec from other townships, what they have?
Yeah, the spec that we propose on the plans is similar to specifications of some other townships. But- Right, but we can put together the analysis.
And the rest of it is just the sizing of the plantings that they want throughout the landscaping around the parking lot. Instead of 6 foot, what is it? 6 foot.
Yeah, previously it was 6 feet tall.
We reduced them down to 5 foot because it costs less for those. Some of the other, that's just smaller plantings. Fence being white color instead of black, which doubles the price of the fence, apparently, from what the fence people are telling us. So just stuff like that to try to get the cost down a little bit.
Lonnie, the additional parking was not required because they were putting in the patio? Or was it? Okay. So if they eliminate the patio, that eliminates some of the need for the expanded parking?
But you want the parking.
The need for the parking is there. I mean, the only way I could put the patio in was to get the extra parking. But
you're
the
not
parking,
gonna
He
eliminate-
still wants the parking.
You
Yeah.
want the parking, but you don't want to use all of the material that's required
Yeah,
in the
there's
ordinance?
a township cross-section of different materials that go into the paving spec.
Okay.
And they want to change or eliminate or reduce, I'm not quite
Okay.
sure what it's all about, but they want to change that spec.
And that's what you're asking for to see
There's a
some
structural
analysis on
analysis
that?
that
Okay.
gets done, that shows the relative strength of what the township code is and what they're proposing.
And the two other waivers you're asking for are just relate to utilizing certain types of trees in the buffers and smaller inch shade trees in the landscaped islands.
Yep.
Yes, correct.
And that's different from what was originally proposed.
Right.
PennDOT's going to be doing a tremendous amount of work on Ridge Pike soon,
They're going to be widening the road.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any relief to be had in that quarter, or how that would affect it. I remember a year or so ago, sitting in on a seminar, and they were talking about that.
We think our neighbors are going to lose all their parking. Everybody parks out in the front of the Primo Hoagies, that whole shopping center. It's all frontage
It's all gonna
parking.
go.
Yeah, and
That's why I thought something was
they're
said
going to
about-
lose all their parking when PennDOT comes through and does this. And where do you think they're going to park? Where are their customers going to park? They're going to park in my spots. What they do now, because they don't like backing out on a Ridge Pike.
Yeah, and there's not going to be any parking along Ridge Pike. That
Exactly.
won't be allowed.
So that's why we feel the parking is needed. It's for the future. It's for now, but it's definitely more for the future.
So it sounds like what just really needs to happen is that you guys need to get with Lonnie to show them the, whatever it is that you need to see.
Yeah.
And then before we do anything, right? Is that,
Yeah, and I think the other two waivers are just trees and as,
just water them a little bit more and they'll grow faster.
but that'll
More
be,
fertilizer.
We were told they're not going to live anyway. They're in the parking lot unless we spend another $25,000-$30,000 on irrigation to water the plants. They're like, it's a waste of money to put the plants in anyway, but that's what they require, so that's what we're going to do.
Was there a specific reason for the original color of the fence as
No.
opposed to going to white? Just
No?
And that was just a specification that
It's your-
was
your specs.
provided on the plan.
Yeah. I mean, we agreed on everything you guys put through until we figured out how much everything cost. And then we were like, we have to go back in and try to get this reduced, or it's not going to happen. So that's why we're here.
all right. So I guess just report back to Lonnie regarding the materials, and then everything else seems okay.
Yes, so, I mean, if you're in agreement with our waiver request, like, Alex will have to prepare a resolution, that could be next Monday night, or next month, depending if you want to hear his answer first. but
Sure, there's enough time.
We have enough time to do
Yeah,
it, as long
if
as.
he's looking at me, is there enough time?
do you have enough time
As
to
long as you get
If I
it.
get it, if I get it
to
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just contingent upon
I'll
what
ask Brian
what you
to
find
get
in
it
your.
to
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, because then we could do it next Monday night, we need a resolution, because we already have one.
Read lips.
I know.
I'm sorry. I don't have any braille people.
But-
Okay.
And I guess if it doesn't happen, then it would be next month, right? It'd be next Monday or in March.
You go right on it?
All right, yes.
Okay. Anything else? Any other questions?
Well, I hope you don't plant calorie pear trees. They're about to be banned in Pennsylvania.
Say it again?
The calorie pear tree is an invasive tree. It's about to be banned in Pennsylvania by the Department of Agriculture.
No, we don't have that on the plans.
Well, this is a shade tree.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. All right.
I said I have to have it tomorrow.
Next presentation is for Butler Pike Apartments. It's at 1301 and 1234 and 1316, correct?
1316 and 1234.
Yeah. Not 13. I got you.
Good evening. My name is Bob Tucker. I am from Kaplan Stewart, attorney for the applicant Butler Pike Apartments. We're here this evening concerning two separate zoning applications. Both applications seek a variance from your code to permit multifamily uses, one at 1234 Butler Pike and the other at 1316 Butler Pike. The zoning hearing is scheduled for February 20th, later this month. With me is Chuck Borkowski on behalf of the applicant. Tonight we're asking council to, we're requesting that council not oppose or remain neutral on the two zoning applications before the zoning hearing board. We believe that there's ample parking for both of the proposed uses at these locations, and that the uses are entirely consistent with the surrounding area. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Chuck to go into a little bit more detail about the two sites, what they're looking to do, and why it's consistent with the surrounding area.
Okay, thank you. So obviously we have three different parcels here, but it's kind of the same theme, so I'll talk in general here. But first, thank you for hearing me out here. I understand how getting three applications can look for multi-units condensed in the same area, so I'm hoping I can just, living and raising my family directly across the street, express to you what I've watched over the past 26 years happen there, and why I'm doing this, and why I think it won't hinder anything there, and it'll fit in. So like I said, I live directly across the street, and my family, we owned a few properties along the lines here, a quadplex, and the other properties we're speaking of here. and others across the street in White Marsh Township and in Conshohocken Borough. So we're kind of at the corner of where everything intersects here. I thought the best way, and I apologize for lengthiness, but was just to let you know, when we thought we were just coming for a zoning application prior to that, we put in a good bit of time with all the neighbors talking about the architecturals and just making sure we had support and trying more as the block, the community within the community, to do what we would all like to see there anyway. So all of them voiced their support for me. There's a lot. I spoke to, I believe, I would say 98% of the neighbors. The few that I couldn't get a hold of, I was told don't have opposition. It was just scheduling. I believe at the last zoning meeting, people showed up just to support it anyway. But to give you a little example of the different type of neighbors, there's tenants, there's multi-units there with just outside people that have other properties in Plymouth Township and all that, and there's a lot of commercial as well between the three, I say townships. But the different type of people live in. So this is from right next door to the two parcels, and then on the other side of 1316. So this neighbor in particular is sandwiched in between the three parcels we're speaking of tonight. So, and I'll be short about this, but they wrote that they spoke with us. They've looked into the plans. As neighbors, they support it. They look forward to something happening urgently because for 3 years it's just been a demo site with a construction fence around it. They say that 20 years ago they watched my wife and I build our home there. We've bought other properties there. Every time we do, we spruce them up. We come from a landscape background, so we always put above and beyond what the township would either request there.
Chuck, sorry to interrupt. Just to be clear, the vacant site, that is 1234 Butler Pike, is
Yes.
that correct? Okay.
Yes, so that was, if you're familiar at all, it was subdivided into two parcels by another developer. And without going into crazy details, it was a property we looked at to buy when it was just a single home. We were going to try to save it and just use it as a rental. It didn't work out with us. Somebody aggressively pursued it, and sadly, it's not working out. So we're looking at a way, like Fuat just kind of said, the way the world is right now, we're looking at a way to where we construct the look of what they proposed, but obviously we need a different usage to make the job work. So yes, this is the neighbor right in between everything, and they're just saying they support the duplexes, the triplex, and they look forward to the prompt development. I have another neighbor that's right down the street. He's lives in it and then has other rentals in the building as well, and that's just giving you an idea of where, over the past 20 plus years, where this street has gone and what's happening there. So he wrote to you all and he said, approximately 11 years ago, he came in front of you to turn his duplex into a triplex. As with the Brukowskis, this is something I found necessary as the character and section of Butler Pike has trended to more rentals and more multi-units. We are surrounded by apartments on both the Conshohocken and Plymouth side, and I 100% support the Brukowskis' improvements. I also give them points for trying to build a dwelling to stay within the character of the old Butler Pike rather than force all of the modern architecture as we're seeing the other way. All other projects in town and the multiple other units they own along my street are always maintained to the highest standards, and they always rent to good character tenants. Once again, I support their plans, and I would ask that permits be issued as fast as possible, as we have all looked at construction site for the past 3 years while the other developers started and installed.
Now, instead of going through each
Yeah,
letter,
yeah,
let's just
So
state that we'll present these letters to the zoning hearing board and have
Correct.
neighbor testimony. But that's the gist of all the letters in support, that the neighbors are supportive of this project and believe it to be consistent with the neighborhood. Now, Chuck, if you could, we talk about 1316. The goal is to keep the existing framework of that single-family structure and change its use to multifamily.
Yes, so this is literally just usage here. When we acquired it some years ago, right before COVID, we had the intention, and we were honest with Plymouth Township from the start, that we were only going to rent as a unit as one unit until we could legalize it. So for the past few years, we've had one tenant living in there on the single floor. And basically, the structure would not change. The electric, all that is what it has always been. The exterior would not change at all. It looks and it will operate as it did for years. It's just when we acquired it, we didn't want to be illegal about it. So, is it Mr. Trask or Tressler? I always mess up, but he inspected it for years, and everything's fine there. We're just, when we put this application for the other units, we said, okay, now's the time. Let's just present it. Which again, coming full circle, I know how the application looks when you get three in front of you, but it was our thinking we were just going to go to a zoning meeting.
And for 1316, it's your understanding that it was previously used as a multifamily
Yes.
before you purchased it, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I know I think there's been questions from council regarding parking. Can you speak to why parking is, we have ample parking at both sites?
Yes, so 1316 in particular, and is right next door, obviously, to 1320, which we own as well. That's a legal quadplex. So a little bit more intense than 1316 we're looking, but basically the same building. One would have 4 units, one would have 3. And in between both of those, there's a driveway and a large gravel parking lot behind it and a large asphalt at 1316. With the quadplex, with 4 tenants, we have 1 vehicle there. And that's been the trend. A lot of them are long-term tenants. 2 of the units have turned over in the past 2 years. But we have a bus stop across the street and the train. A lot of people walk right down North Lane to the train station there. So I can honestly say, if you drive there, there's usually 1 car between the 5 units right now.
That's a long walk.
I'm sorry?
That's a long walk.
Like 2 miles.
They do it.
Minimum.
They do it. We have SEPTA literally in front of my home, right across the street. A lot of people do the bus. But no, they either go down to the bridge in Conshohocken
Yeah.
or they go down North Lane.
Because I don't even think there's sidewalks all the way down there.
I don't know how they go. I just,
They're not outside.
that's,
You're saying there currently aren't cars, but if you have tenants.
but,
that
and
have
that's what I was
cars-
going to say, even with cars, we do have the parking for it. So
How
there's
many
plenty
cars
of
would
room.
1316 accommodate?
1316, I believe we have 6.
6 parking spots?
Yeah.
And
And
they're not
I don't
shared
know,
with the
Lonnie, how
quadplex?
you with stacking, but we do have a long driveway as well. So I mean, we have a driveway and then we have a lot behind it.
Well,
It
tenants
can't be
aren't
like
going to
one
back up.
behind the other. They have-
No, that's what I'm saying.
They have to be able
On,
to get out independently.
to the side,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
And do people from the quadplex park at 1316 also?
No.
They don't,
They
they have
have their own
separate,
separate.
they have
Yes.
separate, okay.
Yes, they each house has a front-loaded driveway, and 1316 has a side access as well.
And so when you say there's 1 car there usually, is that, well, there's only 1 tenant in it right now
Yeah.
anyway.
No, there's 4.
Not in the. not
In 1316, correct, there's 1 tenant and
So
1
there's
car.
only 1 car?
Yes.
And I guess sometimes when people have cars, they leave during the day, but they return at night. Is there any on-street parking available there?
Yes, there's,
That's dicey.
It's
It's
dicey.
getting worse, in my opinion. I mean, when I drive up and down that street all the time.
I mean,
So do you-
I literally live there, and I know in front of my house there's never a car, and so we have parking on the White Marsh side
Yeah.
and on the Plymouth side as well. I mean, there's, if you do aerials, you can see, but there's
Yeah.
there's never not parking. I'll say that. Years ago, the Antioch Church down there on Sundays, they would come, and so for a few hours during church, it would definitely be flooded on Sunday mornings. But other than that, there's always street parking. And we also, with these particular units, frontage-wise, if you looked at overall the parcels, I believe we have a larger parcel, if you would, for curb frontage, as opposed to most of the other lots.
Now, with zoning requirements, would be for what with the triplex? How many parking spots would be off-street spots? Would any be required? None?
Yeah, off-street parking would be required, not just.
That's what I thought, and I'm wondering how many, so we need to know in advance, right?
That's certainly something we'll demonstrate to the zoning hearing board. Yeah.
So then, with the triplex or triplex, you're talking about 2 times 3, 6, not 2 spots, but 6 spots. Is that,
Yeah.
that's what we
Oh,
were-
yeah, yeah, per unit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where, but you were saying you think there are 6 currently, that
Yeah.
existing 6 spots.
Without
Off-
stacking up the
off-street.
driveway.
Yeah.
There's rear parking.
Yes. And that will obviously be, there's going to be a lot of testimony and exhibits and evidence before the zoning hearing board on that issue. But we just wanted to, for tonight's purposes, let you know that we understand that it's a concern and it's something we believe that we have ample room for to accommodate.
And your duplexes, do they have 4 spots each?
I believe how they're set up right now, they have a turnaround, which could be exaggerated and
Yeah, it might take a little bit of reconfiguring the approved subdivision at that's 1234 for the 2 duplexes.
Right.
There's a long driveway here, and there is room for enough parking, but I think as designed, it might require a little adjusting, which we think we'll be able to do.
And I don't know if you're aware as well, but nothing is used that way on any of these properties that we have currently. But some of the neighbors, there's a, would you call it a paper road or an alleyway behind that has access to some of the other residents, the other neighbors. So there's rear parking as well. Again, not proposed on this, but there is a.
And parking's allowed in the alleyway?
It goes onto their properties. People do, honestly, people do park in the alley back there. That's heading more towards the Conshohocken side, though. But yes, there's rear access as well.
So it sounds like in the due diligence category, you said you spoke to 98% of the neighbors.
I would, yeah.
And there was no opposition, and from the 2% that you didn't hear from, you also heard that they were supportive and not in opposition. You didn't hear
I don't
from-
want to say supportive, but nobody nobody said they
It wasn't
had.
intense opposition that they came back to you.
Correct.
So you didn't hear, in all of the discussions you've had?
No, and I didn't want to bore you, but I was just trying to give you an example of the different neighbors, but we have a stack of.
So you'll
A stack
be
of-
bringing that with you?
Absolutely,
correct?
yes.
Yeah.
We know that. we know-
Literally, the evolution of this was, again, living across the street. The 2 parcels that are just a demo site right now.
Yeah.
It's just, what can we do there? You know, it's
It's an eyesore.
it's not the most, in these times, attractive job right now, but it's right across from where I live and where we have other ones, and I have great relationships with the neighbors, so it's what I do, and it's, finding a way to make it look at, again, with the architecture, we're not changing, it's still going to look like a home, it's just going to have 2 units in it.
And I think that the neighbor support brings us to the last issue I want to bring up, is just the consistency with the neighborhood. I think
Yes.
the neighbors are supportive because the use as multifamily at both these locations is really consistent with the surrounding properties. I think you had some data, some X% of the
Yeah.
nearby homes are either commercial uses or multifamily uses, so it would actually be more inconsistent with the neighborhood to keep these as single-family dwellings and to make them multifamily. And multifamily really would be-
And it's just, over the 26 years I've been there, it's just trended that way. There's 309 units behind us at Plymouth Gardens, that everybody, and the 2 parcels that we speak of at 1234, they've advertised them before interest rates and all that, have kind of caused what they cause. But they were listed for over 2 years with no bites, and the feedback is people don't want to spend so much for a single home to be surrounded by all the rentals on apartments. And so, like, I say the north side, so if you're going from Plymouth Gardens, I'm basically splitting it in half, right, going towards Ridge Pike.
Yeah.
There's 17 and I may be off by 1 or 2, but going off the tax map, got a little dizzy. But there's 17 parcels there going towards Ridge, all of which are either definitely rentals, multifamily, and a mix of commercial. Going back down towards Fayette Street, there's 23 parcels, 18 of which are multi-units, rentals, or commercials. So there's very little single-family homes there still, even though they look that way. Behind the property, we mentioned the 309 units. There's also, I believe it's in the borough of Conshohocken, but I think it was 12 units with some mixed commercial that was just renovated a little bit. That kind of butts up to the alleyway of these properties. Across the street, where I am, there's 12 parcels, 9 of which are rentals. We have the 2 cemeteries, and we have the commercial insurance and real estate brokerage right there. And then, of course, the old car dealership, which is on its way through its own battles, but it's definitely a mix of commercial coming. There's also the dry cleaner there, and the future plans for what was going to be the Wawa site and that whole corner there, which is, again, in Conshohocken. So that's it. The only thing I can say, I heard you comment on the tree earlier. My wife sits on the Shade Tree Commission in White Marsh. We own a landscape, so we always do more landscaping than even is required by the township. So, and our crews handle our properties. So it's not, I'm going to be looking at these. It's not like we're just trying to, throw a duplex, sell it, and move on. It'll be retained through our family for hopefully ever, as long as the kids aren't growing up to be jerks or anything. So, but
You guys heard that? Take note, Beth.
yeah.
On the record.
So that's my long-winded
No,
night, but I thank you for the opportunity to be here. I didn't think I was coming here, but I thought if there was opposition, maybe if you heard what's really happening there, for the past 20-plus years, that you could appreciate. We're just trying to save it from being all tear downs and modern buildings.
Yeah, and with that, with the neighbor support, with the character of the neighborhood, I reiterate our request that the township remain neutral and allow us to proceed to the zoning hearing board for this relief.
Neighbor support is crucial.
Yeah.
Are you the owner of all 3 properties or the equitable owner?
So I own 1320 and 1360, and we operate them now. And 1234, the 2 new lots that were created, I'm equitable owner at the moment.
And the owner is Tellurium LLC?
Yes.
Correct.
And they're the ones who received the zoning variances back in 2000 to build single-family homes,
Correct. I had nothing to do with that.
You're not the owner of 1316?
I am.
You are?
Yes.
And that's currently single-family, or it's...
Yes, we're currently licensed with Plymouth with 1 unit.
Someone else had converted it unlawfully?
Yes, years ago.
And it's only being used for 1 unit right now?
Correct.
Is it built out for 3 or built out for 1?
It's like the basement. It's a walkout basement, driveway and all that.
Oh, okay.
So,
That's where the rental is?
and then the first floor is 1, and then the top floor. It's actually 2 top floors, but we don't even go up there. If you look at from the outside, the other building, there's a brick building, which is 1316. And there's a stone building, which is 1320. Pretty much the same building, single homes, and they just chopped the insides up. The 1320 is a legal quadplex.
Okay.
So the 3 applications are for use variances, and there's no dimensional variances being requested?
That's correct.
So you comply with all the parking, all the setbacks, everything else?
That's what we intend to prove, yep. Yes.
Okay.
Impervious coverage?
I think we're well under. They're very large lots.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Lonnie, as far as without going and submitting and all that stuff, but the plans we looked at that were subdivided and engineered and all, we didn't plan on doing anything different as far as all that.
That's helpful, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
we have 4 resolutions for next week. Anybody want to,
Why don't we all take one?
who wants the first one?
I'll take Sharitha.
Karen,
I'll take Denise.
Kathy,
Take Ben.
Lynn, Nick? I'll take it. Yeah. I'll take Mike's because I've got some other things to say about Mike too. So.
Karen, I'm not sure
Just
on the
kidding.
spelling on Ben's name. I noticed it was
Dietrich?
different.
Yes, and the agenda is wrong, the
Okay.
resolution is correct.
I actually looked back at like meeting agendas and it's only Ben D. And I'm like, darn it, Karen.
No, the resolution is correct.
Okay.
I know that this was.
Thank you.
Is it Pike?
Yes.
Denise Pike.
All right. Going down to police and public safety. We have a vehicle request purchase, 3 vehicle request purchases. Anything?
If you need anything from me, just the 3 that we had budgeted for, we're in need, and I would need to place the order. It takes, we just got last year's, so almost 13 months to get our car.
Questions? Is that just an okay? That's not a vote, right?
Right, we usually just take it off the agenda, because
Yeah.
you've already approved it in budget.
Right.
But usually, before spending large amounts of money, we just remind you again.
Got it.
Thank you.
And B, for the decertification and entry-level testing.
Yes, I'm asking to decertify the list because it doesn't end until May 26th of this year. We're currently down to the 11th and 13th rated candidates. I had 2 officers that just recently retired, and I have 1 officer that's been injured on duty. He's out for a long time. I have another officer that's in drop that has let us know that his intention is to leave in April. And I have another officer that's in August is going away for a 15-month deployment to Africa. So
Right.
I'm asking to have a new list or to retest because I like the opportunity to, get some more diverse candidates. I actually have a workshop scheduled here in the community center at the end of this month with a group that specializes in diversity, diverse hires, how to better go about it. We're going to do some mock interviews and so forth. So I would like to get that process rolling, especially since academies are starting in July. So it's all about timing.
When would you want to test? Before July?
I'd like to try and do it before then, but I'm trying to work with the person from this workshop. Some of you might know her, Gail Plant. We've dealt with her with many different issues. I want to find the best way. I don't want to do it too quickly because I am trying to attract a large group of people. So I want to do it the right way. So if I do miss the academy and I have to wait for another one, I think we're still better off because we're trying to get the right people here.
Any questions?
Oh, sounds good.
Anything else, John?
I did have 2 quick things I just wanted to brief council on. One was we had talked about cameras on school buses and that was happening thanks to the school board and the superintendent. One of the issues that I had brought up and it seemed to be something that we were going to try and get involved in if we could was that if officers issued tickets based on what the cameras showed us, then we might be civilly liable as far as paying filing fees. They're minor fees, but still it would bring us into that arena. Well, in talking with the school district and talking with the company, which is Bus Patrol, I've just gotten this MOU, which is something I'm going to talk to the solicitor about and get some feedback on. But they've offered to agree to pay any filing fees, mandated payments, costs, assessments, anything that the officer might get in connection with the adjudication of a contested ticket. So I thought that was promising, and it gets us to, it'd be much more effective if we did issue citations. So before I do anything, like I said, I just got this today. It's something I'll talk with the solicitor about, and just to get a feel to see if it's still doable for us and doesn't put us in a bad position. But I thought it was promising, and I just passed it on because that's something we were working on. And just in case you don't know, the township's traffic engineer submitted a proposal to PennDOT for the new element Light Street. So that's moving along nicely, and everything that we had recommended, they put in there, and that was forwarded to them. So that's moving. That's all that I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, snow announcement. Whose turn is it to read that?
Me, I haven't read it yet.
Keep up the good work with that.
Hopefully I won't bring bad luck.
Chris said his stockpile's getting too big over there. And we have the authorization to bid highway materials.
Yeah, I'm just looking for approval to put the street paving out to bid for this year. Bad timing right now, the oil prices are still high, but there's an index that has when you bid it and when you place it, so if it's, when they put it down, if the oil prices are lower, you'll get a rebate. But it's kind of similar to what it was last year.
And what's the paving area for this year?
We are doing Sandwood, Pastel, Almond, Narcissa Road, Killybegs, and Township 9,
Got it.
and Hickory Road, a little section of Hickory Road.
Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Manai? Oh,
Nothing.
sorry. Anything else?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Nothing, sir.
All right. Subdivision land development, Conocelli extension. That's Nick. 101 North Lane, Kathy.
Yes. This is a kind of different one, isn't it?
Yeah, so actually, it's not Kathy, it'll be Mike, and David Erb is here. If anybody has any questions, is asking for a couple waivers. But yeah, here's the memo recommending conditional approval. You're here next week.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so it's Mike. But David's here in case there's any questions on his requested waivers, right? So there's one from information for areas shown within 200 feet of any part of the land being subdivided, very normal one to be granted, right?
Yes,
Yes. And the other four are all landscape related, since it is a single lot being subdivided into two. Asking for relief from the requirement that the plans be prepared by a registered landscape architect. Relief from the minimum softening buffer requirements. Relief to have the option to permit 50% of the minimum individual lot landscaping as shade tree equivalents. And relief from the replacement tree requirement for the formerly existing tree, shown on the 2008 plan. So you took the house down, right? You
Took the house down, the tree actually fell in Sandy and hit the house.
Oh,
So it
okay.
went away. Since we had a recent plan, the tree wasn't existing.
I got you. But you'll be re-landscaping the two
Oh, yeah.
lots as you sell the homes. Yeah. I think everything else is, explanatory in the memo from Joel, and everything else is in order.
Is there any issue with the county recommendation on the sidewalk to go from 4 feet to 5 feet?
So, I don't know, did the planning agency
On
talk
North,
about that?
they did not, no.
Because, I mean, the code is 4 feet, and you're gonna match the 4 to the 4 and the 5 to the 5, right? So that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it's not
It
huge,
does.
it's kind of like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, and no waiver being requested, right?
As long as we match widths, we take that as,
Yeah.
that takes priority.
Gotcha.
5 feet's better along North Lane.
Any questions? All right.
That's issues, so that's good for next week.
I'll get that over to you by the end of the week.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Dave?
Sandy Hill Riverview, that's Nick, right? Farms extension. It's gonna be late, he's gonna get here right at 5:1. Going down to the escrow releases, that is all Lynn, correct?
It is all in, and then at your place tonight was the fourth one that will be added, the Cultural Village Station. It was the separate piece of paper, that's, yeah, added places. You want to up that in the book behind the other three? Yeah, all four are in.
All right, moving down to code enforcement. We have the fire company waiver request. Any-
Yes, we got one for Plymouth Fire Company to waiver the fees for RTU unit they're putting on the roof, replacing. And I think I calls for 600 and something, I broke it down.
Yeah, $108.65 for the township's portion, and Keystone is waiving their $543 portion of it.
And I also found out this afternoon that Harmonville has installed exhaust systems for their trucks in both of their stations without permits. So I'm going to ask waivers for that, so we can go in and do our inspections. I don't know what that's going to run. I haven't got figures yet. But Keystone will also waive those fees too.
Are they votes or are they just?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were, yeah, I mean, yes, council's always wanted to waive those themselves, so you would assign that to somebody.
Anybody want it?
I'll do that.
Okay.
And Harmonville will be on there also,
Yeah, if you give it to me.
if you get it in time.
Yeah,
Give it to me.
You know, I got calls in to get the prices and everything, so I can forward that to you.
Okay.
B.
B is, Chris and I have been talking about when he paves street, to go in and do an inspection of the curbs and sidewalks prior to the pavement, so that we can get the areas that he's paving up to good standards before they're paved, so they're not ripping up curbs out when it's just been paved and everything. And also, there's places in the township where some of the sidewalks are in really bad shape and they need to be addressed. Tripping hazards and just cracks all over the sidewalks and stuff. So we were looking at possibly taking the areas that he's going to pave, and code enforcement will go out, identify the areas or the addresses that need to have work done, and send them letters to see about getting it done before.
Well, your decision, not mandatory unless you say it's mandatory, because the code allows you to say it's mandatory, but it would be at the homeowner's expense.
Right.
Currently, it's mandatory only at a time of sale.
Correct.
Yeah. And so you're trying to,
Do you want this? Are you asking us to make this mandatory or just
I'm not
to?
asking anything, I'm just telling you, it's your decision to make it mandatory or not.
How often do you experience problems with, like, repaving a road and then having it damaged?
Well, you're in what, like a 6-year cycle?
Yeah, well, it's, we have a moratorium, so we won't allow them to, it's at least a year. We try to have, at least 2 years where people are gonna come in and rip up curbs and rip up our road. We have tried this one other time, and we didn't make it mandatory, but we gave basically a letter of courtesy, basically saying that if you plan on selling, now would be a great time to do your work, because it is, you're not gonna be able to do it for over a year for a moratorium. I would say from those letters, we did it in Blackhorse, so we did it on like Grandview, Jody, that neighborhood, Penn, Bolt, Jeff. We probably got about 20% went ahead and repaired. So
You're essentially kind of giving them a, hey, if you were going to sell this, you'd have to do this.
You're going to have to do it to sell it.
So right, so sort of letting them know that they wouldn't pass inspection if they had to.
typically we don't do that until the resale where we kind of force people to say, you have to fix it.
Right.
And as Jim has pointed out, there are some pretty dangerous sidewalks that we should give them, put them on notice and make them fix it, because it's such a liability.
The code allows you to do that.
So how does the moratorium work
Yeah,
then?
I think they
Like,
can't
what
sell
if,
their home.
what if they say, I'm not going to do it, you come in,
No, I
you
mean,
pay?
honestly, it's usually in escrow. They would put money in escrow. If that was the case, they would, for the new, the buyer would assume the responsibility a year later. But that's the way around that.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're not stopping sales, or making it difficult. It's just, we're trying to give them notice that if you are planning on selling, now's a good time to do it. We would like them to fix it, but, I don't know if we have the teeth or if the council wants to, have that strong fist and say, yeah, we're gonna do that, because we know how that could be.
Yeah. I don't really, but.
This
But I
pushback when
do,
they
but
sell.
I like the idea of giving the notification so that it maybe drives some people to do it who wouldn't normally do it.
Without requiring it.
We can remind them that there is a liability associated with so many trips and falls when you're broken curves,
Yeah.
that they are liable, and it kind of maybe that awareness.
Or
And there's
by
a letter in the
risk.
file too, so that's not gonna help them if
Right.
they do get,
I
if
broke
they
my
do
wrist
get
on one of
sued.
those sidewalks.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You can identify, but you will not mark it.
We will not mark them. We will, each address up, we have the guys mark, okay, 15 feet of curb needs to be done, 3 sections of sidewalks, basically. And that's what we would put in the letter. And if they want to do it, they would contact us, then we would go out and mark it.
When would these letters go out? Roughly?
Well, they would have to go down as soon as
We
possible.
have to go out and do the inspections, so depending on how much there actually is, he won't be paving until June. So we probably have them out no later than into March.
Sandwood, Pastel, and Holman are really the only neighborhoods with curbs and sidewalks.
Right.
And I don't think there's not much on town, there's not many residents on Township Line or Cicero Road relative to Sandwood, Pastel, and Holman.
I think it's a good nudge.
Yeah.
I need to get mine.
I guess in one respect it's a good nudge, but in another respect it could also create a lot of
Create
confusion and hysteria.
Well, be prepared for a lot of phone calls to the township.
Not to us.
Is that you, Kathy? Pastel Sandwood?
No.
No.
Oh, well, that's my area.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
what I'm
yeah, I'll
saying.
be getting calls,
Yeah, that's what I'm
Pastel.
saying.
So you'd be getting the calls, probably.
Yeah, that's-
But
We
we
can
can
process
explain
it
to
in.
them that,
But
we're
this
giving
room
you
is
heads
sidewalks.
up that it will be required, that, it's that bad.
I mean, the phrasing of the letter could be, your road's set to be paved this year, so we decided to do a little courtesy
Yes.
inspection. If you were gonna sell, you wouldn't be able to do this.
Without putting this
curb
amount of
repair.
money in
We've
escrow.
noticed that your curbs and sidewalks would not pass, we do an inspection.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, there's a liability associated with it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it makes a lot of sense here. I just wonder when these letters start showing up and people start
Yeah,
jumping to
it's
conclusions that we might be creating
They're
a fear.
forcing me
One
to,
interest
yeah.
collection.
I would like to mull this over before I just say. I'd like to think about. And you would say that you would be letting them know like a year in advance of the. Did you say that, or did I misread that?
No, just that, they would have to get it fixed
Before the paving.
Yeah, before the milling starts.
I mean, it's a noble idea. I'm not quite sure I want to.
What was the
Sign
reaction,
off on
because
that.
you did it in Black Horse.
We did.
What was the reaction?
It wasn't horrible. I think when we let people know that that if they wanted to sell, now's a good time to do it. But their curbs and sidewalks would not pass inspection, and again, we kind of put it as a reliability that if somebody trips and falls, and now might be a good time to do it. But we didn't force anybody to do it.
How long ago was that?
Probably 10 years ago.
Just put that to the side for a second. We'll revisit that.
Would you like me to send the guys out? We'll calculate what needs to be done, so next month you will have a better idea.
How many houses would be involved?
I mean, That's okay, I just don't want any
Why are you
any
opposed
letters.
to it?
I'm just concerned people get these letters and it's going to
Start
create
freaking out.
like,
We're gonna freak.
yeah, like
Yeah,
whether
they
it's,
will.
even though it's not mandatory, I just think it's going to be. It may not be perceived that way. I think I fear how people might react to
In the light of
getting.
day, it seems like a really good idea. Not only appropriate, but actually a really good idea to give people a heads up, but
Yeah. It's
I understand your
upsetting.
concern that people they'll half read it and pick up the phone.
Right.
Which, if they do that, if they pick up the phone and call one once, then
And we say, you don't have to
never
do it.
never
Just a lot of-
conversation,
Just-
but it does,
I think we should think it over.
Are you concerned that it's going to affect their liability, that they were given advance notice?
No, I just think I'm concerned about how people are going to perceive it.
Well, it would affect their liability if they were given notice, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Make it harder.
We'd be
Unsafe
creating definitely a
conditions.
problem for them, yeah.
But they've
already
created
have
a problem by not.
I would say if
I
we-
didn't sue. when
Like,
I
kind of
broke
take a
my
look
nose.
and
We'll
let us
take a
know
look.
how much without really doing anything other than that for the time being. And
Maybe
then
we'll
just-
draft a letter so you'll actually have that too.
That's
to
fine,
see.
for now.
We won't send anything.
Got it. Sounds good.
I like that though. I think it'll be helpful to see how many people it impacts and.
Yeah.
Anything else? Code enforcement?
That's all I have.
All right. Zoning?
So there are no new applications, and that's why there's really nothing in your book. But last month, these 3 applications for Butler Pike LLC, Butler Pike Apartments LLC, they were opened last month and continued to the date certain, February 20th, so they are on for next week. I don't know that you need to read them. They don't need to be re-advertised or anything else. Anybody who is really interested in the case should be there last month, they would have heard that it was continued to this month. So, I mean, I listed that there. I don't even know if I need to put that there again next month, but next week. But there is a meeting. I didn't want to leave it blank.
Well, we could always just announce there's a continuation of.
Legally,
You
we don't
could.
have to.
Yeah, you
Okay.
could.
Fine.
I mean, it's your area too. So, what do you think?
Well, some residents did show up to the last
Leave it
meeting,
the way
so
I have it here.
they heard about it.
It would just be good, I think, to say that, that these were read last month and they continue.
Open
And that way, nobody can accuse us of like hiding it or
Yeah,
not
more
announcing
information
it.
versus less.
Yes.
I just don't want to think there's no meeting. There is a meeting. There's nothing new.
Kathy, I already wrote your name down to read
Yeah.
that.
Kathy's got it? I'll announce it.
All right. Parks and Rec, upcoming events. I think there's a typo on there. Is the Black Heritage Day the following weekend, not 2/15? Isn't it?
It's 2/25. Wait, where does it say it?
I think it's the last, isn't it? Because
Yeah, I don't think it's.
No,
really-
it is on 2/25.
Yeah, that's what I
It's
thought.
on the Saturday.
Yeah.
It's
So I'm gonna be in
2/25 from
Connecticut.
10 to, is it 10 to 3, something
10 to
like
20,
that?
yeah, it is 2:25.
It's
While we're
definitely
correcting that, we
2/25.
could change the spelling on those.
Yes.
Pretty odd.
Those are vacations.
Who's reading that? I'm sorry.
So, I'll take it.
Who was that then?
Citizen Board vacancy announcements. I guess we'll discuss a couple of these later, but Nick?
Nick said, okay.
I just wanted to give you a notice, we did receive a liquor license hearing, another one is for municipal transfers. This one's to the Plymouth Square Shopping Center. And I was in touch with the attorney this afternoon, so it looks like March 13th at 6:30, right before your next month's meeting, regular meeting. They're available, so I'll schedule that for that time if that's what you.
Is that the Alliance Shopping
Is that going to
Center?
be Brixmore coming in?
It's not Brixmore, the application says like PJ.
It's PJ Williams.
Oh, okay, because
Really?
they were,
They didn't
they
say
were
that.
trying to get a beer garden in there.
Sorry.
DJW, I think.
Okay.
So are they staying on,
And,
up in Bluebell too, or?
Rock is
Expanding everywhere. Okay.
So where are they gonna put the beer garden, down below?
Well, it's supposed to be like, where Waypoint Jewelers used to be.
Yeah.
They were gonna open that up and have like a beer garden restaurant there with then the
Elevator
the
going
elevator
down.
downstairs to the back. The gymnast place, the fitness places due to open in Philadelphia Gymnastics from years ago. They've been over in Ballagamingo for like 180,000 years, and they just relocated.
Neanderthal Fitness?
Huh?
Neanderthal Fitness?
Yeah. It's gymnastics. It's the little ones. My granddaughter's in it.
Just for your information, we also did receive a building code appeal. So that's another thing that I was just talking to Mike and Alex with ahead of time as far as getting that scheduled. Well, we have a full board for that board. I think their last hearing was about 6 years ago. But we do have a board, so we'll poll them and the attorney. That board will need to have an attorney. Mike was maybe thinking Sean Kilkenny's office.
Yeah, Alex pointed out that we might have had one of these within the last couple of years, and Mike Peters may have done it, but we'll
The
check.
last one, I think, was for the Proving Grounds. I looked it up. The
Yeah.
I
last one
think
we had
the actual
was-
last one was 1103 Ridge Pike,
Oh, okay. Not the-
where, yeah, they went from a two-way building to a 1B, and they had, because of the setbacks,
Was that on
Amazon, and they had difficulty there as far as water supply and everything. So we worked out a solution. That's why you probably don't remember it.
They had a problem with Aqua running the tap.
Oh, no, that's,
That was a different issue?
no, there was an exhaust system that they wound up putting in
Is
to
Mike Peters a small?
bring it up to code.
He's with what?
Eastburn.
If he's familiar with it. I like Mike
Yeah.
Peters. What?
Well, we'll see who did it.
Whatever he thinks is best.
Yeah. Leave it up to you, you know all the locomotives.
I do indeed.
Who do this kind of work.
That's all I had. Just wanted to let you know those two things were coming.
Anybody else have anything for the group? All right, we will adjourn and move into green agenda.